30th of June, Rabbi Levitt, Gemora.
Let's see. Oh, we got to the top of Tzadik Vav Amid Beis, Amid Aleph rather.
Right.
The Masik Bey, Kashir, Arav Ushivcha, Vishivcha, the Lo Masik Bey, Ela Kashir Arav. Okay. So we are in the middle of an exchange between Ravina and Rav Ashi.
Right.
Yeah, what's going on so far? Ravina asked Rav Ashi a question. Does Shmuel in fact hold that the Baal Chov gives to the Lokeach the Shevach? We have a statement that Shmuel says that the Baal Chov collects all the Shevach and he doesn't give anything to the Lokeach. And so the first thing that Rav Ashi answered was, there's two different scenarios. There's the scenario where the appreciated value reaches the shoulders, and there's a case where it doesn't reach the shoulders. If it does not reach the shoulders, then true, he doesn't get it, Lokeach. Only when it reaches the shoulders, only when it's become to a full development, then he gets his shevach. He gets his shevach. And on that he said, but we see not like that. We see that Shmuel, I guess in his rulings in the Bezdin, he paskin that yifilu shevach magia l'ktefim. That he doesn't the Baal Chov, he takes it and he doesn't give anything. So on that, Rav Ashi said lo kasha. That's where, in order to get paid back what was owed him by the borrower, so in order to get paid back, he needs to also go into the shevach, the appreciated value of the property, in addition to the property, the goof of the property itself. But where it doesn't, where what he needs to get paid back only gets to the amount of the land itself, not the appreciated part. So then he has to give that part back to the one that made the improvement
In cash.
Yeah. Okay. So now. Okay. In other words, for keeping score over here, we're defending the statement of Shmuel that Shmuel said that he gives back. The Baal Chov does give back, and for the appreciated value to the purchaser or to the somim that inherited the property. And now Ravina is following up with another comment on what Rav Ashi has just said. So that's where we're up to now. Amalei means that Ravina is saying to Rav Ashi, and this can be found at the end of the second line from the top of the page And the page we're talking about is Sadi Vav Amid Aleph, 96A. That's where we are holding right now, 96A.
It's 96A1. And
Yeah.
on the right, the left-hand column, the middle, Ravina asks.
Okay, so Roy, would you like to start off for us today?
Okay. Omar Lay, he said to Ravina, to Ravash, Ravina asks, he said to Ravashi, Hanicha the ma'an the Omar, is lay, Zuzi lo keach, lo matzei, masalek, lay, levaal, chov. So this answer is acceptable according to the one who says that even if the buyer of the mortgaged land has money, he cannot remove the creditor from the land by offering him money instead. Shafir, for then it is well understood, while Shmuel rules. This is now the what the Gemora, what Art Scroll is saying. He cannot remove the credit. It is well understood why Shmuel rules that although the debt equals the value, only the value of the land without improvements, the creditor may nevertheless collect both the land and the improvements and compensate the buyer for the improvements with cash. Elor Lama'an Da'amah, but according to one who says that Eis lay Zuzi lelokeach, but if the buyer of the mortgaged land has money, Matzi Masalek lay leba'al chov, he can remove the creditor from the land by offering him money instead. What right does the creditor have to take the entire land with its improvements and simply compensate the buyer for his improvements with money? Says Art Scroll. Lema lay, let the buyer say to him, I havu li zuzi. If I had money, hava misalakayna lach I could have removed you from the entire land by giving you the amount of your debt in cash. Now, I do not have the money to prevent you from collecting the entire land, says Art Scroll. Have le garive davare da'ara shi'ul shiva chay. Give me at any rate a parcel of the land equivalent to the value of my improvements.
Okay, so this is what we said when we said that let's take the example that we used when we had a Baal Chov and a Lokeach. We said, Art Scroll, I think, gave us these numbers. When the Baal Chov was owed 100, and the buyer bought the land, which was in fact worth 100. He bought it from the seller, who was the borrower, who borrowed 100 from the lender, and then he sold this property to the purchaser for 100, and the purchaser made improvements in the property, it's now worth 150. So now we said that in this case, who's the one who has the upper hand? We said that the Baal Chov, the creditor, the lender, he's got the upper hand over here in regard to this property that the purchaser bought from the borrower. How so? Because really, the Baal Chov, he's really only entitled to 100 worth of this land, which is 150 now. It's valued at 150 based upon the improvements that the purchaser made. So really, the Baal Chov is only really entitled to 2/3 of the property. But what Shmuel says is that this Baal Chov is going to have the upper hand. Meaning, what's he going to be able to do? He's going to be able to recover the entire land, valued at 150. And then, since he only is owed 100, he's going to pay for the third of the land that he took from the buyer in cash. He'll give him 50. But we said, according to Shmuel, that the Baal Chov, he's got the upper hand. He's the one that can call the shots. And I think even somebody asked, says, what about the purchaser? He can't. Why? Maybe he should be able to tell the Baal Chov, look, I'll pay you 50, and I'm going to take this land. 1 second. What's he going to do? No, he doesn't have to pay him anything. He doesn't have to pay him anything. He'll say, look, I'm taking the land. I'm taking the land. You're not entitled to any more than 100. I'm taking the third of the land. But Shmuel said no. The Baal Chov, he can repossess the entire land, and he just has to compensate the buyer for the 50 that the improvements that he made. And so what Ravina is now saying to Rav Ashi is that the way that you have explained Shmuel, it's subject to a different machlokes, and this is a subject of disputes. This is a subject of dispute. What exactly is the dispute over here? That's what Ravina is saying over here. Anicha, what you have said is only good according to one opinion. Amanda Omar, Isle Zuze lelokeach lo motzi l'masalek le'lebal chov. That the lokeach, the purchaser of the land, even if he has money, he can't tell the Baal Chov to go that he can't take the land. He has a right to be masalek, to divest the Baal Chov of the portion of the land that belongs to him, and he doesn't and he's not gonna. He doesn't have to give up on his land. But there's another Manda Omar. There's another Manda Omar that will disagree with the way Shmuel has explained. According to the Manda Omar, it says, Isle Zuze, if he has money, the Lokeach has money, the purchaser. Matzi Masalek Le Baal Chov. He can go tell the Baal Chov that no. I'm divesting you of this part of the land, and it's mine. And he's not going to be the one to get knocked off the land. So according to that, Hashta Havli Griva de Ara Shir Shivchi. According to that, says Ravina, our purchase over here, in our case, he should be able to tell the Baal Chov, I'm demanding that you give me the value of my shevach, which I'm entitled to, in land, and you can't take that land away from me and give me 50 shekel for it. You have to give me a third of the land. So therefore, what Shmuel has said over here is running into another dispute on the matter of the rights between the Baal Chov and the purchaser, the Lokeach. So we don't seem to have any Rashi on this. Okay. Now we're going to read the response of Rav Ashi. What does Rav Ashi say back to Ravina about this claim that he has made that Shmuel, according to the way you're explaining Shmuel, he's saying something which is a subject of dispute between the different views over here.
So it's up 96A1, right? Right side.
Correct.
Rabbi Ashi answers.
Yes, Alan.
Yeah. Amalei, he said to Ravina, B'chor b'mai asa kinon, with what case that we're dealing here? Kagon to shab your ni Alei po siki, with a case where the debtor had made this land a pokey for the creditor. To Marley, for the debtor had said to him, Lo yehe l'chor pegravon elor mizeh, you shall have no right to collect payment for the debt except from this field. In such a case, all agree that the buyer cannot prevent the creditor from taking possession of the mortgage property by offering him money to satisfy the debt. Consequently, the creditor may take possession of the entire designated property with his improvements and simply compensate the buyer for his improvements with cash.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We do have a Rashi over here. Let's see. It's the Rashi lo yehe lacha piroyan ela mizet. So this is what the debtor, the borrower, said to the lender, and I would imagine that it should also be written explicitly into the contract that he has this right. That would be something that that should be something that the guy, the purchaser of the land should.
We lost you, Rabbi. You're muted.
Okay.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Yeah. So this is let's see this Rashi.
Okay, lo yehe lecha peiraon ella mizeh. You have no you cannot collect payment except from this. In other words, he's saying that this land is the exclusive collateral. No other land of his is collateral. Only this one.
Right.
The nami havu le zuze lelokeach And if so, I guess, Inami, if so, or if it is the case that he has money for the purchaser, lo matzi mi salak le. We don't find that that he can divest him.
Hey,
So if the purchaser has money, the Baal Chov cannot divest the purchaser. Is that right?
I think it's the other way around.
Oh, if the Baal Chov has money, then he can't divest.
Yeah, the issue with the money is throwing me off over here a little bit because, 1 second over here. Let's think about this for a second. Let's just trace what we have so far. We have a case as follows. Let's say that the lender lended for 100, and the borrower is receiving the 100, and there's an agreement between them. It's written, and the agreement is that the lova provides for the malva a certain property as an apoteki, and apoteki means that here will be your collection. Lo yechel lacha piroyin ela bisadazu. Your means of collecting is only from this field. So I understood that on the basis of that. So now so many guys over here, you have to remember what their names are. If the borrower defaults on his loan, and so now that gives the lender the right to go and collect this property, even if the borrower sold it to a third party. So now we're dealing with the case between the lender, the Baal Chov, who's the creditor, and the buyer of this property, which has an apoteki on it. So how does it work? Now, what the Gemora is saying, what Rav Ashi is saying now is that this matter, when you have an apoteki, it will not be subject to any dispute that we mentioned before about whether the buyer can divest the guy from the property, or whether the other guy can divest him from the property and pay him. Who's the one that has the upper hand? So we were dealing with two different manda omrim that was brought up over here. There was no Rashi on it, but the Gemora said, also was bothering me a little bit. What does it have to do with the money? If he has money, if there is money to the lokeach, I'm reading now from the from the statement of Ravina when it said this is 2 lines up from the top, the last word of the line, Omar Le. Here's what Ravina said to Rav Ashi, that Hanicha, what you have said is good, Lemanda Omar, according to this following Manda Omar. But according to the other Manda Omar, it's no good what you've said, because you're saying that Shmuel is saying something which is subject to a dispute over here. And then when Rav Ashi answers him back, he answers Ravina back, he's saying that no, it's not so, because we're talking about a case where the Lova gave the Malva an apoteki. And in the case of apoteki, both of these Manda Omrim over here that we're gonna explain now, they both agree that in the case of an apoteki, they don't have any machlokas between them if it's an apoteki. So just a second. So this it says in the Gemara, if the purchaser of the property, he has money, lomotzi masalik le lebal chov. He won't be able to divest. He won't be able to divest the Baal Chov of his of being able to take the field. In other words, the Baal Chov will be able to take the whole field, and meaning what? He'll have to compensate the guy for his interest in the field, but he won't be able to demand the field itself. That's according to that mandomer, and that's the mandomer that we say shapir. That's how we have been explaining the case according to Shmuel, that the Baal Chov
Rabbi, can you
yeah.
say that last statement again, but give the names of the people? Because you said he and him, and I was a little confused as to who was who.
Oh, okay, sure, absolutely. Okay. Let's see in the words themselves in the Gemora. What you have said so far is acceptable according to the following Manda Omer, who says, if there is money to the lokeach,
The purchaser.
the one who purchased the field, lo motzi misalek le lebal chov. He will not be able, nevertheless, he won't be able to use that money to divest the Baal Chov from the property.
So that means
Rather, what will what?
the purchaser cannot give money to the lender in lieu of the property. Right?
Yeah, to divest the lender of the of any interest that he would have in the property.
Okay.
Now, I'll tell you what's confusing me. What's confusing me is because in the example that I chose, we didn't need to. The lokeach didn't need to give any money. That was the problem. That's what's throwing us off over here, because in our case that we chose, the lokeach is entitled to a third of the property, because the Baal Chov, his loan was only for 100, and the property is now 150. So the way that we explained the case according to Shmuel was, the only issue was, would the Baal Chov be able to divest the purchaser from taking his 1/3, his 50 shekel that he's owed in having 1/3 of that property. And we said that the Baal Chov will be able to take the whole property, even though he's only entitled to 100. And as far as the 50, the other third of the property goes, he will pay off the lokeach in cash.
Thereby divesting the lokeach of his 1/3.
Right. So we asked, but what about the ability of the lokeach to divest the Baal Chov of that 1/3 interest in the property, and say, one second,
not of the 1/3, of the 2/3.
The 2/3.
What about the availability of the purchaser to say to the Baal Chov, I'll give you your 100 and you don't take my land.
Okay. Now you're talking. You think that's what's going on over here. That's why he asked. That would explain very well why he needs to have money. The lokeach.
Right.
He's not even. Now, one second over here. Now this is. Let's see over here. I have in my notes over here, they're quoting, this is a Gemora in Ksubis, that if you have a Baal Chov, and he's coming to collect his chov from the karka that is now in the hand of a lokeach of the lova. If the lokeach wants to pay money to pay off the chov, I think, yeah, that's what you asked once.
Right.
So here, there is a Gemora in Ksubis which is saying that this issue is a question of a dispute. There's a dispute on this matter between the Amoraim, presumably.
Right.
In other words, there's a Mandomer who says that if he has money, if the Lokeach has the necessary money for the 2/3, he can divest the Baal Chov of his lien on the property.
Right.
He can pay him off, and then the Baal Chov goes away with he will be paid his debt, but he won't be able to take the field of the Lokeach.
Right.
Whereas the other Manda Omer, there's another Manda Omer over there in the Gemora in Ksubis that says that no, he's not allowed to do that. El Manda Omer Isle Zuze, meaning even if the Lokeach does have money to offer. One second. But one second. The first Manda Omer says that even though he does have money, the Lokeach, he cannot divest the Baal Chov of his right to collect the field. So we're talking about the 100.
Right.
The other Manda Omer says that the purchaser does have the upper hand over here. He can divest the Baal Chov who has a lien on this property and say, okay, here's 100 and kol tuv lecha. Yeah. Sei gesund.
Okay, so it's a machlokas.
Okay, so now what's a little bit confusing over here that we have to work out is that really what we are talking about, according to Shmuel, we are not talking about the 100. We're talking about the 50.
Oh.
Right? You understand that? Because we're talking about the shevach value that the lokeach made in the karka. The karka originally was 100.
Right.
And now the lokeach, the purchaser, he's improved the property. It's now 150. And nobody. I mean, on the at least on the side that it's fully developed. It's fully developed. It belongs to the lokeach. The only question is who's got the upper hand in regard to this extra 50, which is in the karka. And we said up until now, according to Shmuel, that the Baal Chov would be able to take the whole property and just pay off the purchaser for in cash for his interest in the property, based upon the improvements, the increased value of the property. So the first thing I would have thought to say is, look, that issue that in the Gemora in Ksubis is not exactly the same issue that we're dealing with in Shmuel. How can that maybe they wouldn't? But it seems as though what it seems is that Rav Ashi, who's responding to this question of Ravina, he's what we call makabel de kasha. he's receiving the kasha. He's accepting the kasha and saying that it is a kasha based upon these two different mandomim min ksubis, and he's giving an answer to resolve this question, as opposed to saying you have no question to begin with. You're comparing apples and oranges. I'm talking about oranges. You're talking about apples. What does the subject of apples have to do with the subject of oranges? He's not saying that. I would like to know why, but okay, that's another matter. In other words, I suppose that what we have to say over here is that the Gemora, Rav Ashi is understanding that the same dispute that exists between these two opinions in the Gemara in Ksubis in regard to the 2/3 of the property will exist by the 1/3 of the property as well. That would seem to be the way one has to understand the Gemara over here.
Well, it seems that from the English, if we go back to where Ravina poses the problem to Rav Ashi, it says, did Shmuel indeed say that a creditor gives the buyer compensation for his improvements? So that would be the case that he borrowed 100. The land is worth 100. The improvement is worth 50. The creditor takes the whole thing, and then he has to give 50 to the purchaser. And that's the question. Is that what Shmuel said? And then it goes on to say, but Shmuel said a creditor collects the improvements that the buyer made to the land without compensating the buyer for them. So my understanding of what the English is saying here is that the other side of this argument is that the creditor takes the whole land that's worth 150, even though he only loaned 100. And he cheats the buyer out of his 50.
Oh, no, but that's okay, that's not the way that we understood it. The case of Baal Chov Lilokeach.
Yeah.
Were we saying that the Baal Chov takes the whole field?
Yeah, it says Baal
more than what he was
Chov,
entitled to receive and not pay anything?
Right. And we said that the Lokeach has to go back to the original seller and collect the money from him.
Oh, see, this is what happened. The Ravina had a statement that according to Shmuel, the Baal Chov collects everything from the Shebach, and he doesn't have to give anything to the Lokeach at all. That was his question. In other words, according to Ravina, the statement that he had made no distinction. The issue was whether he had to pay him anything at all. Or he could just take it.
At all. Whether the Baal Chov had to pay the Lokeach?
Yeah, Baal Chov, it says, Baal Chov gove es hashebach. And Rashi
Right.
said that was on the bottom of 95b.
Right.
And Rashi said over there, the issue was that what that meant was, Rashi said,
Eno,
Ve'eno machzir lelokeach klum. He doesn't give anything in compensation to the lokeach for the shevach at all.
right. That's where the English is getting it from.
Okay. Now, at that point, Ravashi answered the answer of, well, that subject that depends. That depends. There. It's true even according to Shmuel that there are situations where he doesn't get compensated at all. The lokeach. When is that? When it doesn't reach the shoulders. When it doesn't reach the shoulders, he doesn't get paid at all. But when it does reach the shoulders, that's what we're talking about. That's what Shmuel is talking about when he's saying that when he takes that the Baal Chov takes the whole land, which is 150, even though he's only entitled to 100, and he pays in cash 50 to the lokeach of the land. Because the shevach that the lokeach did in the land was magia leketefim. It did reach the shoulders. It was talking about the type of shevach appreciation that did reach the shoulders. So when it does reach the shoulders, the lokeach is going to get paid back. Only when it doesn't reach the shoulders, then that's when Shmuel says that the Baal Chov is gova es a shevach, meaning he collects the shevach, and Rashi says he doesn't have to reimburse the lokeach anything for the shevach at all. But once we answered that, then now what the Gemora is talking about is a different issue. The issue over here that the Gemora is talking about is, one second, according to Shmuel said that who is the one who has the upper hand to divest the other one of the property, and he can pay him cash and say, leave the property with me and I'll pay you cash and you're divested of the property, right? In that case, and that's a subject of dispute. That's the Gemora in Ksubis. The Gemora in Ksubis says in that case that there's a dispute. If the one opinion says that if the lokeach has cash, he can divest the Baal Chov of his interest in the land itself that is encumbered, and the other Mandomer says no, he doesn't have any such right like that, even if he has cash to divest the Baal Chov. No, the Baal Chov, he has a complete interest. You cannot divest him of the property. He's taken the property, and if he needs to pay for any extra property, he'll pay the lokeach, but he's getting the land. So in that's a different dispute. That's a different issue and a different dispute. So that's the dispute that we're talking about right now. And on that, Ravashi closes the story and he says no, because Shmuel's talking about a case of a potiki. And in the case of a potiki, both of these opinions agree that you cannot divest the Baal Chov of his right to collect the property, why? Because the borrower has said, I'm making this property here for you, and a potiki, meaning you cannot get paid off except from this property. So he has a special interest to take that property that's been given to the Baal Chov. And so therefore, in that case, even the Manda Omer, who says that ordinarily, if there wouldn't be an apotiki, the purchaser of the field can tell the Baal Chov, here's 100 and sei gesund, and I'm taking the property. But in the case of an apotiki, even that Mandomer says no, you cannot. The lokeach doesn't have the power to do that.
Time's up.
Time is up. Okay. Very good.
Thank you, Rabbi.
A good Chodesh to everybody.
Good
We
Chodesh.
will
Kodesh.
we'll continue this discussion on Yom Rishon, Bezrat Hashem.
Amen.
And tomorrow we have more of Kibbut Av V'Eim with the Peliotes.
Lou at 4:45.
Quarter of 5.
We're 5, okay.
Quarter of